Hello and welcome back to another episode. Now I want to show you my problem. I got the brand new cylinder bore, I've put it together and it appears that I've been given the wrong gear segments. As you can see, the gear does not meet the teeth on the actual flap itself. So I've looked everywhere online and there is none in the world anywhere. No second-hand ones, no new ones, nothing. So my plan is to cut this one. I don't know if you can see a line there, but I'm going to cut it just in front of this hole here, and then I'm going to extend it roughly 5 millimeters. I'll just be welding it. So I just purchased a brand new welder. I guess we'll just have to see what I can do, otherwise I'm going to have to get one cut and made, which is expensive, so I might as well try myself. So here I go. Okay, as you can see, I've got it set up in the vise. I've measured it pretty evenly, so it's pretty straight. So now I'm just going to cut as close as I can to the vise. Hopefully that will be straight and won't be too close to the timing mark and the locating hole. Cool. Alright, now I'll take it out of the vise and I'll figure out how much I've got to add. Okay, I've cut the gear and I've cleaned it up now, so as you can see there's a fair bit I've actually got to add there. I was hoping just to fill it with weld, but I guess I'm going to have to cut a tiny slither of scrap steel and just add it in. I'll have to measure it and then I'll cut the piece and I'll tack it in. Right, so I got the scrap bit of metal that I found in the bin at work. I'm just going to cut a little slither off there. I've lined it up on the vise so it's clamped in. Now I'll just attack it. Okay, there we go. Let's get this bad boy out. Alright, I think that'll do. Now I'll get it out and I'll add it in. Okay, so I've cut the little piece out now, so it's pretty much exactly 5 millimeters. I'm kind of concerned because I don't know if I've cut the gear perfectly straight, and I don't know how that's going to affect the performance of the engine, but I guess I'm just going to have to give it a go and try and see what happens. So I'm just going to tack that in there, then cut the extra bit off, and then I'll put it in and see how close I am to being correct. Okay, so I've cut and ground down a little bit of plate and stuck it in between and marked it up, so now I'm going to tack it. Okay, so I've done some pretty bad tacks there, but it'll do. It'll show you what I'm trying to do, so I guess we'll put it in and see what happens and see what it looks like. So it seems to work perfectly. Obviously it needs to be bolted in, but it seems to be the right right length. It seems to go in perfectly fine. Yeah, seems to be good. Now I will weld that up a bit further, weld both sides, grind it down and make it look pretty, and do the second one. Okay, so I have welded it together. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing, but it should work. It doesn't seem to rub on anything. It seems to be pretty straight and level, so I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to do the next one. Okay, that's the second one done now, so they come up pretty good. Not perfect, they're not the prettiest, but they will work. I mean, I could spend time die grinding out the curves and make them look pretty, but I don't really think I need to. I'll probably paint them so they don't rust, and job done, and I can install them. Alright, let's do that. Alright, now I'm putting this control flap together, but as you can see on the picture here, there's a little tiny dowel, but it's worn. Now, I don't know if you can see that it's all worn there, so I'm going to try weld that up and then grind it down. Hopefully I can get it perfect. Okay, this side's super simple. It's just got this little bracket and then 2 bolts basically that hold that in. So I'm just going to put these in quickly. The other side's a bit more complicated. It's got a few more bits and pieces, but nothing we can't figure out. Now I think I've got to adjust this later on. I'm not really sure, but I'll read the instructions when I get to that point. Okay, so with the left hand side it's a bit more tricky, but obviously just follow the pictures on here, which are pretty easy, and then to get the spring on I've just put the bolt in loose. Hopefully this works, and then it's always going to be a pain in the ass because springs are always a pain in the ass. It's very hard with the camera in my hand too. Bloody hell. Alright, so let's put you down for a second and I'll just get it on, but anyway I'm just going to use a screwdriver to flick it on and then push it down with my other hand, which I can't do with the camera in my hand. Okay, that's this side done. Just use the screwdriver to get the pin or the spring over the pin. So, and then I had to take it all apart again because I had to put Loctite on this bolt here. Obviously because if this came out, it actually has potential to fall into the crank, actually the clutch cover, by these little holes here, so pretty important to have that on there. So that is the cylinder complete, except I'm missing the 4 bolts for here, but I will find them and I'll put them in. So yes, that's the cylinder done. So now I can find those 4 bolts, put those bolts in, and then fit the piston to the cylinder. Yeah, so that should be all good. Alright, it is the day after, and my goal today is to fit the cylinder bore on the engine and then put the head on the engine as well. So I've got to set the piston ring gap. So I have put the piston ring in the bore and I have checked the ring gap. So the ring gap according to the manual is to be no bigger than 0.4 millimeters, and this is the closest one feeler gauge that I have, which is 0.229, so well under. So that's perfect. So now that I know that ring gap is perfect, I can fit the piston onto the bottom end, which is actually already in the bike. So I'll have to do a bit of an update on what I've done on the bike, but I'll get it ready and I'll show you what I've done already. Right, this is the bike. So from last video I made, I'm pretty sure all I did was build the bottom end. So from here I have changed, or I've actually stripped the frame completely and I've painted it. Did some rust proofing of some bits and sanded it down. I've replaced the head stem bearings, so had to use a bolt, old threaded rod and a couple of nuts and some washers trick to get them in. I have replaced the swing arm bearings, changed all the wheel bearings, front and rear, wheel seals, and then I've got brand new tyres on them as well. So, and obviously I fitted the engine. I can't fit the swing arm without fitting the engine because the rear the swing arm mounting bolt goes straight through the back of the engine. So yeah, so I guess now I will fit the piston. Okay, first step, I'm going to oil everything before I put them in. So I'm going to oil the roller bearing, oil inside the con rod in here, and then I will oil the gudgeon pin as well. Maybe put a little bit of oil in the piston there before I slide it in, and then I will fit it. piston ring says top on the, obviously on the top of the ring, so that will go up. Right, one concern I do have with the piston ring is that according to the manual, this model has 2 piston rings, but I only got 1 piston ring in the piston that I got. Now, from the information that I got, that should be fine. You can run a single piston in a double piston bore, but not the other way around. Because if you had a double piston in a single piston bore, it could foul on like a intake port or an exhaust port or something like that. So hopefully there's no dramas. On top of the piston here it says EX, so that's the exhaust side, so that side will be facing the exhaust. So now, just double check to make sure that I did it right. Yep, exhaust to the exhaust side, which is at the front. Intake's obviously this side. Alright, so next step is I'll put the circlips in the gudgeon pin. Okay, I got the little gudgeon pin circlip in, and it was a little bitch. Very hard to get in and squeeze in. I watched a video on YouTube how to get it in, and you just made it look like it was nothing, but I used pliers and squished them and pushed them in with a screwdriver as well, so all went well. Well, I got it in anyway, so now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, both the circlips are in. I have cleaned it all up, made sure there's no dirt or dust in there. Now I'm going to oil the cylinder bore. So I cleaned that out as well, wipe that out down with a rag. Now I will oil it and then I will fit it. Okay, I just did some reading of the manual and I just found out that you've got to adjust the piston height by changing the thickness of these gaskets here. So there's 3 different gaskets, all at different thicknesses. So they call that dimension X. So I'm just going to put the thickest in now to start with, and then I'll go from there. Okay, the cylinder is on. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it a little bit, get that. Seems to turn very well. So now I will test this piston height and see what that is. According to the manual, I need to have a special tool, and I do not have that special tool. So basically I've just installed the thickest one, and I think I'm just going to run that because the edge of the piston is like just below the top of the cylinder bore. So I think once I tension the bolts down, it'll bring it to almost level, and I think I'll just have to run that and see what happens. Yeah, so I'm just going to go from there and hope for the best, really. Alright, the 4 bolts that hold the cylinder bore on are now tight, so hopefully this is not going to be a problem because I don't have the seals. I don't have this bearing here, I don't have a new bearing of these. The water pump wheel, I need a new seal, and a couple of other bearings to go in this area here. I don't have them, so they're on order now. There's a 1 month wait for the parts, so I haven't been able to put this on, and as you can see, this bolt's on under there, so hopefully I can just slide that on underneath. Put the rod in through here that connects to this here. Hopefully that's not a problem later, but I guess we'll find out later. I'm just excited to get the cylinder head on and the bore on. So okay, so now I'm going to put the gasket on for the cylinder head and bolt that down. I've just found out that I don't actually have the bolts for the head, which is very annoying. So that means I can't bolt it on, but I mean I can always Just place it on there for now, and just, I mean, that'll be it. I'll have to get some bolts. I still have to get the bolts for this cover for the exhaust port here, so I should be able to source them through my work. And yeah, so I mean, pretty successful weekend really. I had to modify some engine parts, but that's okay. I got it sorted. Just missing some bolts and some seals to finish it off, but I'm getting closer, that's for sure. So let's just sit this on here. Let's check which way it goes first. So I think so it looks like the pipe faces towards the front of the bike, so it'll be just like that. It's almost a finished product. I'm getting excited now. I wonder if this was all worth it. I bought the bike for $400. I'm gonna need to add up the part, and hopefully in the next video I'll actually be able to come up to an amount that I'm at right now, and yeah, I'll see if it's worth it. Alright, see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.